transmission is pretty much the oldest way to get power from an internal combustion engine to the wheels efficiently. So if it's so old, why do people still buy them? The automatic transmission's been around for so long, and yet the manual transmission's going through a sort of renaissance here in 2024. Why?
Just a few years ago, say 2020, there were plenty of very good performance cars that, despite them being perfect candidates, just didn't come with a manual transmission. The C8 Corvette didn't have it. The new Alpine A110 didn't have it. The VW Polo GTI, a hot hatchback for God's sake, that didn't come with a manual transmission. And yet, all of those cars sold quite well. Or rather, at least none of them failed, per se. If that's the case, then why are manual transmissions suddenly being put in high-performance cars again, like the Pagani Utopia, or the Porsche 911 Carrera T, which literally has factory stickers on it to show you that it's manual only? Well, to be honest, I don't know. There were plenty of people on online forums begging for manual transmissions in and around 2020 for various different cars, but let's be real, I doubt most of those people were actual customers for a brand like Porsche. It is possible that COVID affected the demand. Maybe people being locked up in their homes for so long made them want to drive more, and that could have shifted the market with increased demand for manual cars. Surely that would have worn off by now though, right? Whatever the case, if you're not big on the world of cars, you might not even understand why someone who can afford something like a Porsche 911 would choose to exert extra physical and mental effort while driving. So let me explain that bit.
So first of all, that bit about physical and mental effort. Anyone who's driven a manual transmission on a daily basis for more than a month or so will tell you that after a while, it just becomes second nature, pretty much muscle memory. You don't really need to think about where the bite point of the clutch is. You just feel it. And you don't need to think about where the engine starts to lose low-end torque, because you remember, you know. Of course, it's different for every car. Some cars are easier to handle than others, they're more forgiving. But generally speaking, when you've driven a manual transmission for long enough, it becomes a breeze. Now, as for why someone would actually want a manual as opposed to an automatic where they don't have to do all that extra stuff, for one, it gives you more control. Obviously, I'm sure that's something you've all heard before, but for instance, and I think this is something not a lot of people think about, an engine is more responsive when it's paired with a manual transmission, at least compared to, say, a torque converter automatic. Because in that transmission, the engine has to toss around a bunch of fluid to get the car moving. Whereas in a manual, if you're in gear and the clutch is out, the throttle's pretty responsive. The main reason people buy manual transmission cars though is because they're fun. Now to explain this, it's a little difficult if you've never driven one, so instead I'm going to use a sort of comparison. The legends over at Gears and Gasoline compared driving a manual transmission versus driving an automatic to cooking versus chucking a packaged meal into a microwave. Now I thought that was a very good comparison, but since I'm training to be an engineer, I like to think of it as using a CAD software to draw a technical drawing versus just drawing it by hand. Sure, using the CAD software might be faster in some ways, and you can use a 2D drawing to create a 3D model. However, when you draw it, you're the one doing everything. If you make a mistake, even if it's a small one, you have to be the one to correct it. You are the person who is shaping whatever it is you're drawing, instead of sharing some of the workload with a computer. Now sure, it means more work to do the same thing, but you're the one penning it to paper. It's all down to you. And also, monkey brain likes to move stick around and make funny noises. Yeah.
And that's basically it. I probably missed some stuff, so if I did, please let me know. But otherwise, I hope this video was insightful, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.